Now, turning to that scathing report this week against the State Department, it's fueling lots of debate after an independent panel criticized what it called the grossly inadequate security at the diplomatic compound in Benghazi. Now, that attack led to the deaths of 4 Americans, including Ambassador Chris Stevens. Also, in Senate hearings this week, State Department officials conceded that mistakes were made and are promising to fix security concerns. But lawmakers are still demanding answers from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who has yet to testify about that tragic event. Joining us now, 2 members of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman Jeff Duncan and Democratic Congressman Eliot Engel. Gentlemen, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Congressman Duncan, let me begin with you. 4 State Department officials were removed following that independent panel's report, but they didn't criticize the senior officials in this report. And I also found it odd that Mrs. Clinton was never questioned for this report either. Did that surprise you, and what's your response to that?
Absolutely, it surprised me that the Secretary herself was not questioned. And one thing that I saw in the report is that this is labeled as a criminal investigation, not a terrorist attack, that it is. And so there are still a lot of unanswered questions after this report and the subsequent hearings.
So when you take a look at what was going on that fateful day, Congressman Eliot, Engel, are we learning more in terms of what you're being able to glean from the testimony at this point? Because we are receiving news that cables were sent up until that fateful day warning about the security concerns, and that some of those cables may have actually reached top officials at the State Department. So why haven't we heard from them yet?
Well, let me first of all say what happened in Benghazi is a terrible tragedy, and I'm sure that there are no Benghazis in the future. And that's my primary concern, not to play gotcha politics with who made a mistake or who didn't make a mistake. Hillary Clinton has been the finest Secretary of State that this country has ever had, as far as I'm concerned, and she has accepted all 29 recommendations of the board, which made its recommendations, and has gone even a step further and appointed a deputy secretary of high-risk posts. But clearly, many things went astray, and we have to get to the bottom of it. Now, the report provides a great detail. There was not enough coordination between the security of our people abroad and the experts in the Middle East. There was a reliance on local militias to protect our citizens, which is terrible, actually. And so we've got to make sure that these things don't happen again. And by the way, Congress has to play a role, because Congress has been underfunding diplomatic security for years. And we have to put our money where our mouth is. We send our men and women in high-risk places, and we need to protect them.
Congressman Duncan, Senator Lindsey Graham and others are saying they still want to know what President Obama's role was during these critical hours when the attack was going down, and are pushing for more information, saying that the idea that this was sparked by a hate video was no longer plausible, given the fact that officials knew that security concerns were on the table, and that the fact that those threats against the compound were already known.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw, and the report points out, that this should not have been a surprise, that we saw at least 20 incidents of different attacks in and around Benghazi. And the folks that come back from Iraq and Afghanistan will tell you, when the local population starts shutting their doors, closing their windows, and getting off the street, something's getting ready to happen. One thing to me is, what was our military posture in the region that could have been called upon and should have been called upon to rescue those 4 Americans? Could the Marines in Italy or Turkey, or possibly on a naval vessel in the Mediterranean, been called upon to rescue 4 Americans who gave their lives?
Let me ask you really quickly on this one, though. There are people who were rescued at that compound, and as I understand it, those people who were rescued have yet to be identified and given access, having Congress have access to those individuals to ask them what happened on the ground. Why is that happening right now? Why shouldn't those people be asked to come forward?
Well, look, they should be, and we need to get to the bottom of it. We've been briefed in a classified way, and we've had hearings, and Secretary Clinton is going to come to the Foreign Affairs Committee in January, and I want to get to the bottom of this. But I think the important thing is we have to be fair. Barack Obama is no more responsible for what happened in Benghazi than George Bush was responsible for 9/11, or Ronald Reagan was responsible for the killing of 200+ Marines in Beirut. There's terrorism all around this world, and we need to make sure that our people are in harm's way are protected. Clearly, there was mistakes made here. I want to get to the bottom of it again, not to point fingers, but to make sure that this never happens to American diplomats ever again in the future.
Congressman Duncan?
Well, I guess the question I ask is, when did the President know this attack was occurring? When was there a stand-down order issued, and by whom? And then we all knew it was a terrorist attack. He said that on his statement on the next day to the effect that it was a terrorist attack, but then the UN ambassador went out and said this was in relation to a video. America knows better. They smell a rat here. They want to find out the answers of what went on in Benghazi, what was going on in Benghazi, why 4 Americans basically sacrificed their lives, especially 2 that were Navy SEALs and had served our country. And so there's going to be a lot more hearings on this to get.
And you both expect that Mrs. Clinton will be testifying, hopefully before she steps down.
Yes, so she said she'd come in January. She was going to come this week, but she had a fall. But she'll be back, and we'll ask her questions.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your insights. Appreciate it.